So today, we're going to dive into a really profound Buddhist text, one with a pretty amazing title, the Sutra on the Perfection of Wisdom that Shines Everywhere. And let me tell you, this is a text that will challenge pretty much everything you think you know about what a spiritual path is supposed to look like.
And look, this isn't some new age idea. We're talking about an ancient, incredibly powerful teaching with a really rich history. The version we're digging into today was translated from Sanskrit way back during the Song dynasty by a monk named Shihu. So yeah, it's a deeply treasured part of the Buddhist canon.
At its heart, this whole text poses a truly radical question. It basically asks you to stop and reevaluate your most fundamental ideas of what's pure and what's impure. It challenges that whole notion that we need to get rid of the bad parts of ourselves. Instead, it suggests maybe we just need to understand them. It's a total 180 in perspective.
Okay, so to really get what's going on here, first you have to picture the setting, because this wasn't just some casual chat, this was a full-blown celestial event.
The whole thing kicks off in this magnificent, unbelievable palace in what's known as the Desire Realm, one of the different planes of existence. The text describes it as being just covered in precious jewels, with these beautiful banners flowing, and you can hear the sound of hanging bells. This scene of otherworldly beauty, it immediately tells you that something incredibly important is about to go down.
And just look at who's in the audience. You've got the Buddha himself, right there, surrounded by this huge assembly of bodhisattvas. These are enlightened beings who stick around to help everyone else out. We're talking legendary figures like Vajrapani, Avalokiteshvara, and Manjushri. I mean, the guest list alone tells you, okay, this is a really big deal.
And this, right here, is where it gets really interesting. The sutra doesn't waste any time. It jumps right into its most challenging, mind-bending concept, a complete and total redefinition of what it even means to be pure.
So the Buddha starts to speak, and you can tell right away that his words are designed to kind of shock you, to jolt you out of your normal way of thinking. He just starts listing things, one after another, and declaring that each one is pure. But it's what he lists that is so absolutely revolutionary.
First up, he says this: greed is pure. Just let that sink in for a second. In pretty much every spiritual path you can think of, greed is like public enemy number one, right? It's something you're supposed to stamp out.
And he doesn't stop there. Next he says, anger is pure. Again, this is one of the classic three poisons in Buddhism, a root cause of all our suffering. And yet, here it is being called pure.
And finally, to complete the trifecta of the three poisons, ignorance is pure. So the very things we're all taught are the sources of all our problems are being presented as fundamentally pure. I mean, how on earth can that be?
Well, the sutra clears up this paradox with this incredibly profound idea: everything, and that means greed, anger, you, me, all of it, is by its own true nature empty. Now let's be clear, empty doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It means it has no fixed, solid, separate self. And because of that, its most basic nature is pure. The point isn't that greed becomes pure, it's that the actual essence of greed, when you see it for what it truly is already pure. This idea is so huge, so mind-bending, that the text doesn't just say it once. A whole bunch of different Buddhas actually show up, and each one explains this same core wisdom from a slightly different angle. Let's check out a couple of them.
So first up, we've got the historical Buddha, Shakyamuni. And he offers a very direct, very practical piece of advice.
So get this, the point isn't to run away from your negative emotions. The key is to look directly into them. You watch the play of greed unfold without getting tangled up in the drama. And it's in that moment of clear seeing that you discover its true, pure nature.
Then another Buddha shows up, and this one's very name basically is the teaching, the Tathagata of pure intrinsic nature. And this is just a beautiful way to put it, because it completely flips the logic. It's not that wisdom comes along and makes things pure. It's that because everything is already pure in its true nature, then wisdom itself must also be pure. The purity of wisdom is just a mirror reflecting the purity that's literally everywhere.
All right, now the sutra does something really amazing. After laying out this vast cosmic philosophy, it takes this huge idea and shrinks it all the way down into its most concentrated, most potent form, a single sound.
According to the sutra, this one sound contains everything we've been talking about. It's the beginning and the end of this entire teaching.
So this introduces the concept of a seed syllable. In some Buddhist traditions, a syllable like hum isn't just a noise, it's like a vibrational container for an entire doctrine. Think of it like a cosmic zip file.
The idea is that the wisdom of the entire sutra can just unfold from focusing on this one sacred sound. Okay, so that's the philosophy. But what's the payoff? What does this all actually mean for us? Well, the final section of the sutra makes some absolutely extraordinary claims about the power of this wisdom.
Now this next part is intense. So stick with me here. This is probably the most dramatic statement in the whole text, and it's so important to understand this is not, I repeat, not a license to go out and do harm. It's a powerful, over-the-top metaphor to show just how unbelievably potent this truth is. It's saying that the wisdom of seeing intrinsic purity is so fundamental, it can purify even the worst possible negative karma. And the promises just keep coming. The text says that anyone who even just hears, or recites, or feels happy about this teaching will have their obstacles cleared away and will be protected from bad rebirths. The very ground they live on becomes sacred. And ultimately, it's described as a fast track to full enlightenment, where the Buddhas themselves will be there to greet you when you die.
And this all leads to the sutra's final, absolutely beautiful image. You know how a lotus grows up from the mud at the bottom of a pond, but its flower blossoms perfectly clean, totally unstained by it all? Well, in the same way, someone who understands this wisdom can live right in the mud of the world, with all its greed and anger and confusion, without ever being stained by it. And that brings us full circle, right back to the profound question this text leaves us with. If purity is already our fundamental nature, our factory setting, then what is this whole spiritual journey really for? Maybe, just maybe, it's not about becoming something we aren't, but simply waking up to what we've actually been all along.